Welcome to the Board of Education meeting for Weld County School District 6 on this, the 14th day of September 2020. This meeting will now come to order. Please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Crane, will you please call the roll for us?
Mr. Hafley?
Present.
Mrs. Mash?
Present.
Mr. Matthews?
Present.
Mrs. Mueller?
Present.
Ms. Pappas?
Present.
Mrs. Solis?
Present.
Mr. Talley?
Present.
7 members present.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. Well, we are into the 5th week of school, and it's been an exciting first 4 weeks for us, for sure. And one of the things that people may have missed is that our national AP recognitions came out recently, and when I counted, there were 84 different students at Greeley Central, Greeley West, and Northridge that garnered 93 recognitions. Our charter schools added another 23 recognitions, and that totaled 116 AP scholars and recognitions that we had. All of these students earn at least a 3 or higher on 3 different AP exams or more. And that's a significant number because in 2012, so in the last 8 years, we've gone from 57 AP scholars to now 100, I think, and 116. And so there are a few that I wanted, there's no way to list all those people, but there are a few that I did want to recognize. One, Hayden Hine, Indigo Parlin, Gianna Yumura, Michaela Bowen, the first 3 from Central and the last from Northridge. They were actually national AP scholars, and that means that they had at least had to average at least a 4 on all their AP exams and earn a 4 or higher on 8 exams. So congratulations to all of our 116 AP scholars. Especially impressive is that these kids did this. And they completed their classes and passed their exams in the midst of a pandemic, and that was an additional challenge. So congratulations to all of those students. Also, another piece of news that people may have missed, hopefully not, but it was featured. Kyle Clark featured a giving campaign that the Success Foundation is doing right now to eliminate our school lunch debt, and we have across the district, our families have accumulated $147,000 of school lunch debt, and that is partly because we live in a district that is 70% free, roughly 70% free and reduced lunch. And one of the things that Kyle Clark said was particularly heartening to me is he said that no kid is ever lunch shamed in Greeley Evans District 6. If they don't have lunch money, they're given the same lunch as their classmates, and that's how you accumulate that kind of lunch debt over the course of a year. And they have now been successful since he aired that special in raising $80,000 of that $147,000, and so they're still doing that. You can go to the Success Foundation website and contribute to that and help pay off debts for students who need that help. Behind all of that, behind that campaign, we know. First of all, we want to thank the Success Foundation. They are a tremendous partner. It's not just been lunch debt; it's been masks, it's been instruments earlier this year. They just continue to do so much for this district, and so we want to thank Julie Hill and the Success Foundation. But behind both of those meaning that campaign and also those AP scholars are a lot of tremendous teachers. We have one actually sitting with us here tonight, Mr. Frazier, and they're just a ton of teachers that that make that possible. And right now we have teachers who are sacrificing their own time, not only their own time with their families, but they're risking their own health and sometimes the health of perhaps a child that has asthma at their own house, or a significant other who has COPD or something like that, to educate children and to serve our district in incredible ways. And so we want to publicly thank them as a board for their many sacrifices and the incredible effort. You guys, if you didn't join us for our work session, didn't get to hear the incredible effort that has to go into just carrying on school right now and continuing to get the job done for kids. And so while we thank all of our staff, we especially want to thank our teachers tonight, and hopefully they know that this board appreciates all of their labors, and hopefully our public will thank them as well. So if you're at home and you're watching and you're a parent, make sure you thank your child's teachers for what they're doing right now. We think they're pretty essential. And I think that's all I truly have to share tonight. And so our next item of business is public participation regarding agenda items. And I don't think we have anybody here to speak before us, but we do have Ms. Crane is going to read something that someone wanted to share with us.
So this is Josh Wayne Scott. He is a parent in the school district and a teacher at Maplewood Elementary. Dear ladies and gentlemen of the board, I would like to apologize for not being able to be here this evening and speak to you directly, but Ms. Crane has graciously offered to read this for me. Not every school district would go out of its way to make sure that people's voices are heard. I would like to recognize the board for the wonderful article in the Greeley Tribune this Sunday. The title of the article is All Means All, and it was following the discussion from Mr. Hafley, Ms. Pappas, Ms. Solis, and Mr. Talley around the success of the board. It was a wonderful article that allowed the public to see into who each of you are as real people. I was troubled by the headline. It was a little misleading. I thought this would be the perfect article to talk about the high degree of diversity in our community and how we intend to create positive, lasting change within various community groups. I thought the article would have emphasized our core value statement that diversity is an asset. Unfortunately, this was lost in the article. There are so many wonderful things that this board has been able to accomplish, but focusing just on the things that have passed means that we are not looking forward to what still needs to be accomplished. It is with this in mind that I would like to ask each of you, board and superintendent, to examine all the issues you discuss by asking yourselves, who will be impacted in the most negative way with any decisions on this topic going forward? I would ask that when you decide to collect input to truly reflect our community's beliefs, you prioritize ways to connect to those who still do not have a voice, the ones that do not have access to the internet, language support, or even the ability to read. They are our district's parents and families too. Just because they're not vocal does not mean they don't care. It just means they can't connect with you the way you are asking them to. In education, we would never say it's a kid's fault for not knowing how to speak up for themselves. We would say this is an area as a staff we need to improve upon. The start of this year, with everything digital, really showed where we have significant gaps in our system. If we can predict it, we can prevent it. Let's start being more proactive than reactive, because all means all. Thank you. Josh Wayne Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Wayne Scott. Thank you, Ms. Crane, for reading that for us. Our next item of business is our work session report. And so, Ms. Crane, will you read for us what we've been doing for the last hour or so?
Board of Education President Michael Matthews began the work session with comments and updates from board members and then proceeded to review the calendar of upcoming events and meeting dates. Superintendent Dr. Deirdre Pilch presented an update on the COVID-19 response. The board briefly discussed community engagement and debriefed the work session to conclude.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. We're now to our superintendent's report, and so Dr. Pilch, I will give it to you.
Thank you, President Matthews, and I will tell you that two of my things on my list you spoke about, so thank you for being of like mind with me. I'll just echo the Next with Kyle Clark on Channel 9 that is just so remarkable. I kept getting texts that night and the next day from people like, they're up to 40,000. We're gonna hit at least 50,000. This fundraising is now over $80,000. And you said it about Julie Hill and the Success Foundation and the board. Tonight during our board work session, she sent me a text about a grant opportunity and just wondering what she can do to help in pursuing the grant. I mean, they're just a remarkable team, and we're so fortunate to have them alongside us, especially during this really difficult time with COVID and the pandemic. So huge shout out to all of them, and thank you for your kind words. And then the words that you had tonight, President Matthews, about our teachers especially and our other staff. We are in week 5 of school, and we are in week 5 because our people came back and because our people continue to come back and give every single day. They're remarkable, and we all have benefited from parents and business leaders telling us how appreciative they are that we're back in session. And we heard tonight in the work session our own some of our board members whose children are in our schools, and thankful and appreciative of the experience that your children are having in brick and mortar schools. So thank you for those comments. And on the other side of this are, as you said, people who are actually worried about their own health and about risking their own health and about their own safety, or maybe the health and safety of loved ones in their family or in their home. And I don't take that lightly. I think our people are amazing and remarkable and are stepping up every single day. And last week I met with a few staffs, as I've been doing since school started, and overall, predominantly, teachers are very thankful to be back and to have their students in the classroom. And when a quarantine does happen, they're disappointed to be quarantined and to have to go home when they're well, but to have to go home. And so thank you for your kind words. I am going to prepare something to go to all of our staff on behalf of the board and me, and just use some of the words you all have used tonight. I can't tell you how heartwarming and validating it is to work for a board of education that values our employees like you all do. I mean, that is, I know you would think that all boards of education value their employees, but I have been in other places where it seems that the board and administration are often at odds with the values and beliefs of the employees, and that is not the case here. And that makes me proud to work for you all as your superintendent, and it makes me proud to have you as our board members, the value you put on our staff, all of our staff. So thank you for that. I also want to share that there's some news out there around CHASA from Colorado High School Athletics Association and fall sports and athletics, and CHASA made a decision, and then CHASA has asked school districts to weigh in on that decision now. And I just want to tell you that even with everything else we're dealing with in the day-to-day, our district athletic director, Bob Billings, and Anthony Asimus, assistant super of secondary, and our building athletic directors are paying very closely to that issue. I have responded to CHASA that we gave our input. We supported the original decision to wait on fall athletics until the winter, and that we're really not in a position to say yes, let's go forward with those fall athletics that were postponed without more information from CHASA. We feel like there's a real void of information around what that would look like and how we would implement that. So anyway, we're paying close attention to that. I don't know how that's going to unfold. I think there's a good chance we'll be playing football yet this fall. We'll see what happens with all of that. So I'll keep you posted on that piece. And then finally, I would just say that tonight we recognize, and we'll take notice of it being Hispanic Heritage Month. And Jesse Tiarina and Mr. Fraser are here tonight with one of our students, I see, and are going to give us some additional information as we kind of honor the kickoff of Hispanic Heritage Month. So welcome to you all, and with that, I'll pass it back to you, Mr. Matthews.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Pilch. Our next item of business is to approve an agenda. And so if someone would be so kind as to make a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Greeley Evans School District 6 approves the agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, Ms. Crane, will you give us a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mrs. Mash?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mrs. Mueller?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. The next item is to approve our consent agenda, and we will also need a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Greeley Evans School District 6 approves items as presented on the consent agenda and authorizes the offices to sign any and all contracts.
Second.
Thank you all. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Seeing none, Ms. Crane, will you give us a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mrs. Mash?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mrs. Mueller?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, thank you, Ms. Crane. Our next item of business is that proclamation recognizing September 15th through October 15th as National Hispanic Heritage Month, and this is an action item that requires a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Greeley Evans School District 6 adopts the honorary proclamation recognizing September 15th through October 15th, 2020 as National Hispanic Heritage Month.
Second.
Thank you both. Before we have any discussion on the proclamation, Mr. Talley, will you read for us the proclamation?
Yes. Proclamation recognizing September 15th through October 15th, 2020 as National Hispanic Heritage Month. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month recognizes and celebrates the significant contributions of Americans tracing their ancestry to Spain, Mexico, Central and South America, and the Spanish-speaking nations of the Caribbean. And whereas the observance of Hispanic Heritage Month began in 1968 through an act of Congress declaring National Hispanic Heritage Week, which was later extended to a month-long celebration. And whereas 60.6 million Americans are of Hispanic and Latino descent, and whereas 14,277 students in Greeley Evans School District 6 are of Hispanic and Latino descent, making up 62% of the entire student body. And whereas the contributions of Americans who are of Hispanic and Latino descent in the fields of science, politics, medicine, education, art, music, writing, public service, and many other careers have greatly enhanced and advanced these fields, improving the lives of all Americans. And whereas the art, food, dance, music, and culture of Hispanic and Latino Americans is part of the colorful weave in the fabric of all American culture. And whereas District 6 graduates of Hispanic and Latino descent have and will continue to contribute greatly to the cities of Greeley and Evans, enriching our communities and advancing our businesses and economy. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Education of Greeley Evans School District 6 recognizes and celebrates September 15th, 2020 through October 15th, 2020 as National Hispanic Heritage Month and encourages all employees, students, families, and community members to honor our citizens of Hispanic and Latino descent and recognize their immense contributions to our communities, our state, our nation, and our world, given under my hand and the executive seal of Weld County School District 6 this 14th day of September 2020. Mr. Michael Matthews, President.
Thank you, Mr. Talley. Before we open this up for board members to comment and ask questions, Dr. Pilch, would you like to lead us off? Is there anything you'd like to say about this proclamation?
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. I just want to thank Ms. Solis because a year ago we did not have this proclamation. A year ago at this time, a year ago we were not honoring and recognizing a significant heritage in our community and a significant population within our school district. So thank you, Ms. Solis, for bringing us along and helping us to get better all the time at what we do. And then I think the proclamation says it all. So well done, Mr. Talley.
Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments from board members on this proclamation? Ms. Solis.
I just want to thank our district and the people that make this district run. a lot of them are people of color, and a lot of times we just overlook them. And we don't recognize the huge contributions that they make, again, not only to our district, to our community, to our state, to our nation, and to the world. And there's moments that sometimes we just overlook and get so busy in our everyday stuff that we don't take the time to actually stop and think and thank and recognize all the contributions of hard-working people. And especially here in this community. And I just want to thank everyone here. There's still a lot of work to do when it comes to equity, and this board has made a commitment to continue doing that work. And I know this may seem like just a proclamation, but a proclamation is another consciousness of, as we go forward, making sure that we're conscious about the work that we do, the access that all our kids actually have, the access that our parents have, and how they participate in all our ceremonies when it comes to first day of school, last day of schools, events in our schools, graduations, and really making sure that we make all our families feel like they are part of District 6. So I just want to thank my fellow board members for really listening and having tough conversations sometimes. And I feel like we as a district have really been the example in this community of really opening up and wanting to do better and actually doing better. And so I'm excited to see this. It did make me teary. I think there's some times that we just go every day with, this is just how it is, and really it doesn't have to be that way. We can have these moments. We can have staff members like Jesse, who's out there doing this hard work, making sure that our kiddos feel seen in our schools, and that our staff feels welcomed and thanked for all their work. So I just want to thank everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Solis. Mr. Hafley.
I want to thank Ms. Solis, because her courage during the 7 years that she's been on this board has always been a voice to celebrate the diversity and how the Latino culture has impacted our community. I'm old enough in the city of Greeley to have been told about when Latinos had to sit in the balcony at St. Peter's Church and then ultimately have their own church because nobody else wanted to go to church with them at Our Lady of Peace. And I walked around the colony when it was nothing but dirt roads and it had open sewage, and it's where those people live. And I look at the school board members and members of our district, and Mr. Tiarina is a champion of that, and I appreciate what he does every single day. But I think that when we discuss and celebrate our diversity, we see it as an attribute, and I think that everybody involved with the district should be excited and thankful that we do things like that. And I want to thank again Ms. Solis for being a voice, sometimes in the wilderness, but she's winning, as are all of us, and I want to thank each of you.
Thank you, Mr. Hafley. Ms. Mueller.
So this resonates so much with me in this time when there is some divisiveness across the board in our country. And I just want to urge people to understand the history of where we live in Colorado, a Spanish word. And the fact that Greeley is so interwoven with the history of all of the people who have come and lived here and worked here in the Latinx community, who's contributed so much. And as a student of history, I urge everybody to fully comprehend the history that makes up our nation's founding and our city's founding. I too, with Mr. Hafley, learning the history of Spanish colony and how important that is to the development of Greeley and the development of our agriculture and industry. I really do call upon anyone in the community to learn who we are and how all really does mean all. And we need to take that seriously, and we need to embrace each other. And I'm very proud
Ms. Solis for bringing this forward and us embracing it.
Thank you, Ms. Mueller. Any other questions or comments from board members? I would just say thanks also, Rhonda, for Ms. Elise, for always being the conscience of this board and always carrying that weight to bring things like this forward to us, to make sure that we don't forget, because too often we do overlook things. And 14,277 students is not an insignificant number of students. That's 62% of our kids, and we need to value what they value and care about what they care about, and know their history and understand their culture, and remind them that we do care about their heritage. And so I'm glad we're passing this as well. So if there are no other comments, guys, we'll proceed to a roll call vote. Ms. Green.
Mr. Haefele?
Aye.
Mrs. Mash?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mrs. Mueller?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. We now get an update from the Director of Cultural Excellence from that department, Mr. Jesse Tiarina, and staff and students in honor of the National Hispanic Heritage Month. And so for this, Dr. Pilch, I'll give it to you and let you turn it over to whom you need to turn it over to.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. As we looked at the board agenda preparing for tonight, we realized that we could put just a little bit more meaningfulness into this agenda. And so I reached out to Mr. Tiarina late last week and just said, hey, we'll be doing this proclamation on Monday night. What else do you think we might be able to do? And he took that and ran with it. I think it's tremendous for him to be able to give us some update just on what. So it's one thing to do a proclamation, but so what? So what is the district doing about this? And so thank you for being here tonight, and I'll let you take it from here, Jesse. Thank you.
Great to see you all. Yes. In the non-virtual world, right? Even though I can see your eyes. It's awesome to see you all. So thank you. I mean, it's very meaningful for me, of course, as you know. But as we've said, right, it's a lot more than about a month. It's about what exists from day to day in our schools. And I do believe that we truly value diversity. That being said, I appreciate your time, but I'm going to go quick because I want the former student to come and speak, and as well as the teacher. But some of the things that we have coming up is we're going to be launching our D6 Reads virtual book study in honor of Rodolfo Anaya, who recently passed away. We're going to be reading Bless Mi Ultima. And that starts on the 28th. It'll be a month-long series, and we're going to be reading that in English and Spanish. It's already been posted on our Family Center Facebook. We've also just recently partnered with Ames and UNC, and we're going to begin to ask for community artwork and develop a virtual coloring book that kids can print out, adults can print out. We've already contacted Armando Silva. He's agreed to do a piece of art in there. So that'll be for those Días de los Muertos. So that'll be coming up in October. And then we've also partnered up recently with High Plains on early literacy, and we're going to begin to look at reading books, multilingual books, around different experiences, the Black experience, the Brown experience, other intersections of reality, and look at how we can begin to develop and dispel some myths through early literacy, and really having the ability where folks can talk about heavy topics, heavy issues, right? I always am the belief that if there are kids early enough to realize the color of their skin, then that's also early enough to have that conversation, right? And there are tools and resources to make that happen. So I'm very excited about those things that are taking place. And as you said, Mr. Matthews, around our kids should know about their history. So I felt the same way, so it was never more fitting than to bring Mr. Fraser, who is our adjunct professor from UNC and at Central. He teaches an Introduction to Mexican American Studies class where students are able to get not only high school credit, but college credit. And it's been a great addition to the class. We'll be starting that same class at Greeley West second semester, so we're super excited about that also. So without further ado, we'll have Mr. Tom Fraser and then our student, Herman. I don't even know if I'm supposed to give flyers, but if you want flyers,
Thank you, and thank you for your proclamation. It's a great step. I am always shocked. Well, today, for instance, I had to explain to a classroom full of Mexican American students why Heritage Day starts on September 15th. That should not happen in our school district. They're always surprised to find out that where we are standing right here was part of Nuevo Mexico 400 years ago, long before it was part of the United States, and it was part of Nuevo Mexico for much longer than it has been part of the United States. They should not learn in my classroom that the roots, indigenous roots of Mexican culture reach back into Colorado 15,000 years ago. That 800 years ago there was as much commerce between this part of Colorado and central Mexico as there is now. It's nice for me because I get to, lay all of this on them, but that shouldn't be the case, and I know things like this don't happen overnight. What you've done tonight is a great step, and I hope we keep doing that because our students are hungry for this. They take this class. It's a very difficult class. But I appreciate the growing support we're having for this program. And I think that's enough. Yeah. This is Jermaine Gordo. Jermaine was one of my students in Mass. When Mr. Tiarina asked to have a student come talk, Jerm immediately came to mind. He's articulate and he's intelligent. And I'm going to give it over to you. Do you have anything you would like to say about that class or this program?
I really enjoyed the class to know majority part of my history. I really didn't know anything until I took Mr. Frazier's class. I even learned the agriculture process. Oh, can you hear me now? I learned more about my history and my culture, and especially the agriculture process, especially with growing my yeast. I got the opportunity to actually make homemade tortillas. For my grandma, it was just something she did as a little kid, but to me, I got to see the science and where it came from exactly. But I enjoyed literally everything about that class. Every pages of reading I had to do, I learned everything. It was beautiful, and I really think it's really cool that you guys are taking this step to introduce it at an early age, so they know who they are from the beginning and not from later. This semester, the class build a foundation to who I am, and I got to use it the rest of the semester. So I really think it's really cool that you guys get to start at an early age and just branch it out from there. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you, Mr. Tiarina. Thank you, Dr. Pilch. Ms. Elise, you've got a question.
Not really a question, but a comment. This is another example of how leadership makes a difference. I was actually part of the original group that went to Kalamazoo, Michigan. At the time that we went to Kalamazoo, there was a superintendent there, and we were talking about the different things that we could bring back to our community to actually mimic some of the success that Kalamazoo had had. And one of the things the superintendent and I were talking about was ethnic studies. And at that time, I came back so excited about all this stuff that we talked about, meeting with the people from the city of Greeley, and we had Weld County commissioners there, and just came back with a whole host of ideas, and John Hafley can attest to that. And that was one of my suggestions clear back then. And it's taken this long to really take root and actually come to full fruition. And I want to thank Dr. Pilch for being open to that. I want to thank Jesse for really doing his diligence in making sure that this could come forward and that we are doing that introduction to our kids, because there's so many times that these kids are labeled with certain names in this community, and there's certain stigma that happens when you're a person of color. And to really give you the idea of how amazing the people that look just like you have been in this community and what they've contributed. And that's your legacy. The crown is yours. All you have to do is put it on. We've always been here. We've always been doing this work. And I'm glad that our kids are really learning that positive history of the impact that we've had in this community. Of course. Yes, come back.
Sorry.
You're fine.
So something that came up to mind when she said the diversity. Another beautiful thing with learning the agriculture process is that with food, and I realized that food unites us all together. And even if we're like one descendant or the other, learning, my different culture, your different culture, it could bring us together, and like we could hear each other from both sides of the party rather than just A and B, But no, thank you.
Thank you for that. That's exactly right. But yes, thank you to this board again. Thank you to Dr. Pilch for being open to these, questions and concerns that I've brought up and really taking it serious. I really do appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing how this grows within our community.
Thank you, Mr. Lees. Any other questions or comments from board members? Well, again, thank you all for being here tonight and for keeping us updated on what's happening in the district, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. We appreciate it greatly. So, Dr. Pilch, our next item is also an informational item. It's a bond issue update, and so I will give this again to you.
Thank you, President Matthews. Just as we have a COVID-19 update about every meeting, there is work going on with our bond issue that we could update you at about every meeting. So I've asked Mr. Henson, Assistant Superintendent of Support Services, to come forward and share with you the latest on our bond issue and some of that exciting work. So thank you, Mr. Henson.
There we go. Thank you, Mr. Matthews, Board of Education, Dr. Pilch. It's my pleasure to take a few minutes to talk about something other than COVID and something that we've been working quite hard on since November, so it hasn't even been a year. And so hopefully by the end of this presentation, you'll kind of get a good idea of where we are and where we have yet to go with our bond update. So I'm going to start with giving you an update on Greeley West High School. And Greeley West High School is currently in the design development phase. What that means is we're getting the final design package together with that final pricing, and construction is beginning. So we've been really meeting with the design team since they were hired in December. There's been a lot of communication with district personnel and also the staff at Greeley West High School on designing this project. And I'm happy to say we're on schedule, we're on target, and you can see there our budget is $124 million for this high school. And as I said, right now we're refining the drawings. Things have changed a lot since you were at the groundbreaking ceremony. Basically, the construction company, you saw those guys standing behind, were waiting for that ceremony to get over so they could bulldoze the place. And so that was a big day for them. And as you can see, I thought this one picture was appropriate. This says one way because we can't go back now. We're really we're well down the road here of doing more than breaking ground. Also, when you look out there at dirt, if you look at this stage, these stakes mean something. So next time you're out walking the dog, just make sure you walk carefully. But you see this stake on the right that says C125. Building corner. So that's a building corner, and you can see where it lays next to kind of the football field. This is going to be a long building, but those stakes all mean something, and by this fall, those stakes are going to turn into poured concrete. So that should be happening here in October. Also, the picture on the left there shows some of the early work done was on we just call it the south parking lot. Along the football field, because a lot of our parking at Greeley West right now is getting eaten up by construction. So we needed to have a site for overflow parking and staff parking. So that part is complete, and it looks pretty cool. It'll be a good support for the football field when we're finished. When people ask, they ask us all the time now, where are you building that building? Where are you going to put that? This here, it pretty much shows it, because where there's dirt, for the most part, there's going to be a building, and it will extend from I get them mixed up, 24th Street to the north there, or your right, There'll be a parking lot to CTE off of that, and all the way to the left, about where you see that break in the blue fence, about 3/4 of the way down. And it'll go through a portion of the existing building, but most of it will lie between the athletic field and in that dirt slab. So where you see areas where it looks really flat, you're seeing the theater area, you're seeing the new gym, and then the academic areas will be toward the south. And those look a little lower because, as you remember, that'll be like a walkout on that end. So that's kind of a cool picture. And so in March, hopefully that corner there, you see those orange stakes up against the building, that's going to be the first demolition of the Aux gym there. We already have the weight room moved out into another space, and so that will be the first demo. And then the rest of the demo will happen after the building is made, but we kind of need that square footage. Next project that we have moving is Krista McAuliffe STEM Academy. And this has a completion date of just almost a little more than a year now, November of 2021. Here we've had a lot of review time and work with the city because of the traffic and the parking that's so important to that neighborhood. So at the beginning, we spent a lot of time on what that could look like on the north side of that building to hold cars on site for pickup and drop off, and staff parking, because right now there's hardly enough room for the staff parking, and to allow access onto 4th Street. So we've spent quite a bit of time doing that in the design early on, and also have had extensive utility work with Excel and CenturyLink. And if anyone out there works at CenturyLink, please call me, because there's a buried line out there, nobody knows what it's for, and no one will claim it, and we need to get it taken out. So please call, because you're not returning our calls. So there you go, on public notice. Our budget for this is $22 million. We're doing, like, as I said, extensive site work to alleviate the parking, but we're also using it as an opportunity in the renovation to go into the HVAC of the heating and cooling parts of the existing building and do some upgrades there, because obviously the new portion will have a new boiler and chiller, and so we want to really update those existing buildings. So that'll come at a bit of an additional cost, and also improve the lighting in the existing building and bring that up to the capacity of what will be new. We are planning for a neighborhood meeting in September so that we can bring that neighborhood kind of up to speed on to what our progress is and what our plans on for that site. That has been a little bit COVID delayed, but we're going to try to meet outside and have pamphlets and things. And I've forgotten the date. September
29th.
There you go, September 29th. And that'll just be with ourselves, the contractor, in that neighborhood. Perhaps you saw this. One of the first things that we had to do was get a permit for grading from the city, because we had to move these portables. So right sitting here is 12 portable classrooms that we had to move. We had to move it to the east because it's in the place we need to add on. Okay, so that was some of the first work that had to be done, and that involved the movement of utilities, et cetera, but we have that done. And I did make sure that as we build this on a very tight space, that we do have room to get those out of here when we're done. So the space will look tight, but I've ensured that there is an exit for those when the time is appropriate. And I don't have a fly-through for you on this project, but here's just a picture of the site. The part that's closest to you at the bottom that kind of sticks out at an angle, that is the new wing, new addition that'll be along 4th Street. And then kind of in the middle, you kind of looks like you see 3 peninsulas there. In the middle would be a new gym. And so they'll get a right-sized athletic gym for that site. And then to the right, you'll see a little square with darkened windows. We are adding kindergarten classrooms to that end of the building, and the front entrance will be moved toward 4th Street. So that'll be the main entrance on that end. Site plan here from the top down shows you kind of the same thing. And I've shared this with you before, but if you look out on 4th Street, that'll hold 120 cars in there. And so it's pretty elaborate. We got city approval for that traffic plan. There's quite a bit of communication there. And hopefully we won't have the need to be parking in anyone's cul-de-sac. In terms of program diagram, just again, this would be the first floor. And to the top, that there again is that part that sticks out. That would be the new part that will be primarily 5th and 6th grade. Out to the right, new office area. We're going to redo, kind of take out some hallways, one hallway, and expand rooms into the STEM area and music area, kind of in the middle of the building. You see the new gym there in purple, and then the new kindergarten rooms off to the left. And then this would be second floor, so the new addition would have 2 floors, and on the top floor there will primarily be 7th and 8th grade. And then interiors, I've got some kind of cool pictures, if you like color, of some of the architecture schemes that will take place throughout the building. We have, for all of our projects, we have selected a national manufacturer of carpet, and we've decided on lines of carpet. So we are buying our own carpet, with which we can now get at a reduced cost, and then the contractor will install. So as we go from project to project, we have, okay, here's our starting point for carpet. As an example, we're doing the same with paint. Now there's some leeway to choose colors within that. So as you can see here, there's some commonality in there, but there's some differences between elementary, high school, and the elementary or administration, which kind of helps with wayfinding, kids finding their way through the building. So that was pretty cool. Chapel K-8 Arts Magnet School. This is also in progress. We had a meeting today. Our completion date for this is the fall of 2022. So Greeley West will be in fall of 2022. McCullough will be 2021. Chapel's 2022. Our budget there is $19 million. We've had design advisory group meetings, which are meetings with that include parents and students, administrators and teachers that meet with the architects and the contractor. We've also had programming meetings where the mostly the architects meet with different programs within the building and the administration. In this case, with the Arts Magnet School, the major part of the addition here will be to support performing arts. And then also, you know, I'd like to say we're doing a lot of work with the city of Greeley in planning and projects, and they've been a great support working with us. But the city of Evans is really excited about having a project like this in their city. They haven't had one for a while, and so they've also been very enthusiastic and good partners as we work through the design process of this building. So that's kind of exciting for them, and it's exciting for us. Site plan I have for you. So kind of the major parts of this addition, and I got an updated drawing today, which is better, but when you look to the left of art to the left is addition. So that'll be new addition. So there'll be a type of performing arts center, and then new classrooms that support music and dance and theater instead of classrooms, you know, that were made to teach 5th grade, whatever, years ago. These will be facilities designed to teach the arts. There will also be, coming back to the middle where you see the main entry, there'll be a major renovation there of the office and the main entry there, making that more secure. To do that, we'll eat up a current classroom that sits around the corner so that you don't have to come in and go across the hall to the office. And then the cafeteria on the upper right, that's that big yellow square, that we're going to expand and right size that a little bit. So that, and then also in front, we're going to extend the parking and try to make it good parking for after-school activities or theater events, but also just have more parking during the day. This is just another view. You'll see it's kind of a little bit three-dimensional, so you'll see the performing arts area there in the middle, and then where you see outdoor performance, it's mostly like in some of our buildings, we have outdoor learning spaces, labs. This is an outdoor teaching space, could be used for music or performance or whatever, but that has got to be defined a little more, that sits there on the north side. Next project, new pre-K-8 school. Also coming fall of 2022. So fall of 2022, that's the third one. Okay, so that's going to come fast. Our budget for this brand new is $49 million, and it will have a pre-engineering focus, which we're still working on defining through programming process. We've had DAG meetings with that also, so we've I think we talked about that before. There's a naming committee that is being established, and we will have a process for naming this new school coming soon. And we're also, as you remember, where this site is, on the Boomerang site, is that we are still working with the city of Greeley on meetings, on a property transfer. What the property transfer would do, if we're successful on this, is it would give us 4 points of entry to our property. If for some reason this doesn't work out and we have to go, everything I'm going to show you can be built in the middle of that golf course. So we kind of have two site plans developed. What I'm going to show you here is just one, but regardless, and I'm very optimistic in our process here, but this isn't going to stop us from building. We're just not done yet. So here's excuse me, the first kind of schematic layout of this new school. We're working with DLR Architects on this. This is a pre-K-8 building. So if you look to your kind of top left, you'll see that little brown outcropping there. To the left of that would be the pre-K classrooms on that end. And then we'd come down, and this building really has a flow to it that's kind of unique. The architects use the terms like a ribbon-like flow as you move through the building from one end to the other. It's very fluid in connecting areas. It'll offer a lot of natural light into learning spaces. It'll also allow connectivity to outdoor learning spaces, and everybody's been pretty happy with the design. This is where it will sit on the site, and again, this, we'll have the ability to move this slightly if we have to. Athletic fields can be shifted pretty easily if we need to, but the actual building there is in yellow, and then that would be the surrounding land. Programmatically, this shows you a little bit what's inside of the ribbons, but you'll see where the athletic areas are to the upper right. And then as you get through into the academic areas, which are kind of the teal and the light blue, you'll see as you move through there, and I do have a fly-through video I'll get to here in a minute, is that you can move through areas where there are spaces for small group work, larger group work, kind of places for teachers to take kids to work outside of a classroom. We've talked a lot about how to make spaces flexible in this building. And then this would show you that there's a second floor academically as well. And you'll see the similar kind of pattern up there. Okay, so I'm going to attempt, this is about a 5-minute. Where to go? please. There we go. Your volume. So this is obviously looking from east to the west. You can tell with the mountains in the background. Main entrance would be off 4th Street. Or I'm sorry, 71st Avenue. We need a different name. This corner is the pre-K corner. So you saw in the last two slides, outdoor cafeteria, and before that, one of the outside learning areas. So in this project, when you see the term learning community, we don't talk about grade pods or things like that, just the idea that we have these spaces that can really help create a community of learners that can be shared. things we've talked about with this project is when you come in off of Business 34 and you enter the city of Greeley, what's going to be one of the first things that you see? It's going to be a District 6 building. And so that fly-through is conceptual. We haven't picked out surfaces or anything like that, but that's gives a good idea of the flow through the building, and it gives you a good idea of the space and the light that will be brought into that facility. So that's exciting. Also, our fifth project, Madison Elementary School, completion date of 2023. So we have one at 2021, 3 at 22, and 1 at 23, just so you're preparing. This will be a full replacement school. We still have some work to do to build it out as a K-5 or a K-8, which we have plans to start this fall, and we'll be soliciting for contractors later this spring for that project. And that will be built on site as well, just like Greeley West. In addition to those major building projects, if you remember, each building is getting improvements in safety and security, carpet, paint, etc. So this is a big part of our bond package. So we have nearly completed phase 1 improvements. The first one is Jackson Elementary School. And at Jackson Elementary, we had major asbestos abatement there in the floor especially. We had to close the building and abate the whole thing. The countertops and the carpet. And so that was done in June. And we've added new carpet, paint, door hardware, which I'll show you a picture of, countertops and furniture. Newly designed secure vestibule. I'll show you a picture. That is not done. Part of what happened with COVID is supply lines stopped in some cases, and so the supply of aluminum and glass got backed up. So we're ready to install that the last weekend of September or first weekend of October, and they'll come in on a weekend, yank the front end of the building out, put the secure vestibule in, and hopefully we'll be done. And Jackson was also a Smart Lab recipient from the Success Foundation. So you'll see a picture where with the bond, we were able to transform a space, and then the Success Foundation put in the Smart Lab. And our budget for this project was $1 million, and we're under budget on that, which is nice. And so this is what Jackson looked like in June. So look at the picture on your right, just stare at it, stare at it, stare at it, stare at it, and there's now. So pretty good transformation in that building. Again, carpet colors, we talked about the carpet already. Each building got to select an accent color in their classroom. Whether it's based on school colors, whatever, they had choice in that, and then choice of the carpet run, and so new furniture. So with those things, those learning spaces are totally different, and they've been totally abated, which is nice. This on the left is the new Smart Lab space in Jackson. So that is a pretty cool space. When you get a chance to go over there, you can see that. And in some cases, instead of carpet, you see here we put down LVT on the floor just to make that floor a little different space for kids to be active on. The new door hardware on the left, you can see it's a shiny new lock on an old door. And I selected this picture because if you remember with our bond, we couldn't do everything, but we did the most important things. And so we replaced the door hardware there, so that's got a key on the outside, but on the inside of the door, teacher can lock it with a button, which is a lot better than be fumbling for a key from inside the classroom. So doors, maybe someday, but right now we've got the locks. And then here's a picture of the front vestibule. You can see it's kind of ready to go, just waiting for the new aluminum and glass, and those 4 doors there and all that glass will get taken out. There'll be new storefront put in, and then with the second layers on the inside in the entryway going into the office and coming out, and that will all be secure there. And then also we did Billy Martinez this summer. Very little abatement there, just minor in one space in the building. And again, it got similar treatment, carpet, paint, door hardware. It will also have the secure vestibule. Budget was $1.2 million. But they had their career and college readiness all ready to go. And so while we were doing this project with an architect and engineer, we needed them to help us with the college readiness money. So those are two separate budgets, the bond budget and the college readiness budget. They had a plan 2 years ago of what they would like to do if they ever came across a dollar. And so we enacted that plan, and I'll show you some pictures of it here. And basically they wanted to connect their STEM lab inside to an outdoor learning space in the courtyard. The other thing that Martinez got was a new roof this summer, which was a best grant match. So we put up 55%, best grant gave us 45%, and roofs go for about $800,000, $900,000. So that was a good saving for us in our bond, which is money that we can make go further down the road. So here's the roof. If you want to know what a new roof looks like, there it looks, and the whole roof is done. And so we used a roofer here in Greeley to do that. And Front Range Roofing did that for us. And so that's awesome, because that'll last us for 20 years. And then here's just a look inside. You see a little different accent color with new furniture again. It's just much brighter as you walk down the hallways. At Martinez, they had carpeted hallways, so we carpeted their hallways. At Jackson, they had tile, which we left, and just replaced the classroom. And then this is their, I put Smart Lab Makeover. They received their Smart Lab a year ago from the Success Foundation, so we had to have it taken out so we could renovate the space and then put back in. And so the company Smart Lab was really great. They didn't charge us for that. They came and did all that work for us for free, which was awesome. And then here's kind of what the outside looks like. We got a couple trees that died that we have to replace. We have some canopies for that rock. You see that rock area, outside learning space. We have some canopies that are on back order that will come for that space. And then you see these aluminum tables for doing outside investigative inquiry work. And then you see the path that is a crushed stone or sidewalk as you meander through that space. And then we also on the left connected windows from the Smart Lab into this old computer lab that was dark and dingy to the left. And so to open that all up for monitoring, we put in these 4 windows into that wall. And then at the end of that space, we put in this called a nano wall that will open, those 3 doors will pop open so that we have a big opening to get to the outside. That picture looks dark because the lighting in there wasn't completed yet. And then here again is their front entry. It's kind of trimmed out. It's waiting for the big day when we can yank that front end off and put in the new on the inside. Okay, and if that wasn't enough, phase 2 that we've already started with our architect working on next summer. So we're in the schematic design process here. Where we're meeting with architects. I'm starting to meet with principals to find out their needs for career and college readiness. And we're also talking about scoping and design. Okay, what's on our bond sheets? How far will that go? We need to get some design in there. The vestibules here will be totally different. We'll need more design work. But we're hitting these 4 bullets. So we did 2 this summer. We're going to do 4 next summer. And then Northridge and Greeley, the amount of work that they will get in this, I need to start planning that a year ahead of time. So Central and Northridge are really 3-year projects, but I need to start working on those right now. So next summer, be looking at front entrances, et cetera, on those top 4 buildings, and then the beginning of Northridge and Greeley Central. So those are all the projects that we're working on right now. That is your future. We have a lot of excitement coming forward with the openings of new schools, renovated or new, just in the next couple of years. Thank you, because I'm out of breath.
And out of time.
That was a lot of information, Mr. Henson. I don't know that people could have questions, but I bet we do. So, Ms. Pappas.
So you've just been taking it easy?
You just messed with COVID and we're not doing that.
I am just so excited. And just to think about a year ago when we were just planning and knocking on doors and asking for the bond, I just am so excited to have this reality in front of us, and just want to thank you and everybody that's working with you for all the work that's been done. I know it has to be a lot, but this is so exciting.
Yeah, we have a lot of people working on
Yeah.
this, with through finance and my department, and all my managers get to meet with all the different project architects and engineers, and in each building, the schools have input. So there's quite a bit of meeting going on, but it's fun.
Yeah, well, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Mash.
I just wanted to comment on under budget. That's amazing. Every project we've ever done at my house never came in under budget, so that's just pretty great.
Yeah, no, we're happy, and that there's a lot of communication that has to happen for that to occur. So that's why, in these projects we started this summer, I mean, November passed and then we were moving, and so now we're getting to start in August, really, in early September into next summer. So it feels like we have a lot of time to do the work, that we need to especially for budgeting and things like that.
Well, thank you for being such a good manager of the community's funds.
Thank you.
Making it go as far as we possibly can.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Consent, sorry, I was
Yep.
just checking to make sure no other board members had questions. I have just a few. I did see under budget on most of those. I didn't see that on McAuliffe. Are we under budget on McAuliffe, or has some of that utility work caused us?
Yeah, we're gonna be close. We're gonna be close on that one, and there's a possibility we could slightly go over budget on that, with a lot of that extra work that's going into that site. So that's something that we have to discuss, with our Citizens Oversight Committee. We do have bond proceeds, and so I think our square footage is right, our programming is right, but some of the things that I mentioned there are pushing that budget a little bit.
Yeah.
But Greeley West is on track, with all indications with the new K-8, just without even having contractors, but there's some averages you can do. We're on track with that, and so with all the others.
Another question I had, how has COVID-19, or has it changed any of the planning that you guys have been doing? I mean, I noticed a number of outdoor things, like an outdoor performing arts space at Chapel. Maybe that was already in the works from the beginning. But,
no, that's something that I guess we talked about from the beginning. But so I'll say in terms of planning, we've talked about some things like I always ask, well, we're talking about the cafeteria, let's put it in places for kids to wash their hands. We probably wouldn't have had that conversation a year ago. So some things like that, and some things like fixtures, have come up. But really with HVAC, and this started before COVID, was we talked about when we're replacing boilers and things, the potential to run higher efficient boilers, but maybe we wouldn't use them like that at first. So this gets to your filters. So, you can't just put a MERV 13 in anything and expect it to work. You got to have the power to move the air. But we planned on, well, let's go above, and we can go down here and use these more economical filters. But if we need to, we could go up. Well, then COVID happened, and so look where we are. So we're already months down the road of planning our HVAC. That turned out to be some pretty good discussions that we had.
Some pretty good planning before COVID. Pretty good decisions.
A lot
it
of
sounds
communication,
like. Yeah, great. Well, thank you again for all the work. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Our next item of business is our pending approval of an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Evans, and this is an action item that requires a motion.
I move that the Board of Education of Greeley Evans School District 6 approves the intergovernmental agreement with the City of Evans as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Dr. Pilch, would you like to say anything before we open it up for board members to comment?
Thank you, President Matthews. Just as a reminder, you all have been a part of this conversation and know that earlier this fall, well, this summer, we passed an intergovernmental agreement with the City of Greeley, similar to this one. If our board approves this tonight, Mr. Henson and I go tomorrow evening before the City Council of Evans and will present to them for their consideration of approval of this intergovernmental agreement. Just as a reminder, this is the agreement that would allow the city to collect cash in lieu fees on new development that would then flow dollars to us for future school sites or land improvement for school sites. This is really critical for us in the city of Evans, as we are looking at several pieces of property in the city of Evans as possible future school sites there, which is a little different than with Greeley in that most of the school district part of the city of Greeley truly is already built out, and that intergovernmental agreement probably benefited Eaton and Windsor more than it will benefit us, but this one is very important as it goes forward to the City Council tomorrow night, and I would invite you all to join us. If any of you are available to join us tomorrow evening, I would invite you to do that, but Kent and I will go before them tomorrow evening, assuming our board approves this tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Pilch. Any questions or comments from board members?
Dr. Pilch, what time is that meeting tomorrow night?
7 p.m. And we're early in the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mueller. Ms. Solis.
Just a thank you to your staff and you in bringing this forward. Obviously, it's overdue, so I appreciate that we're having this now and look forward to see how that affects us in the future.
Any other comments, questions, guys? I would just echo Mrs. Solis's thanks, and it's exciting to think that when we do get ready to build a school in Evans, the next bond issue, by the next board, perhaps that land will already be secure, that site will already have been chosen, and they can just begin to build. So that's exciting. Thank you for this. Ms. Crane, will you give us a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Hafley?
Aye.
Mrs. Mash?
Aye.
Mr. Matthews?
Aye.
Mrs. Mueller?
Aye.
Ms. Pappas?
Aye.
Mrs. Solis?
Aye.
Mr. Talley?
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Crane. Our last item is our public participation regarding non-agenda items, and I don't see anyone here. I think we had someone signed up, but they didn't make it. So I think that is all the business that we have for tonight. So thank you all for joining us. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.